You know what, Libby? Mom always loved me more, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what my sister Melissa said to me last Tuesday, her voice dripping with that familiar smugness, while our mother's will lay open between us on the mahogany dining table. Before we embark on this incredible journey together, I have a small, heartfelt request. Please subscribe to my channel, give this video a like. It costs you nothing but means the world to me. And let me know in the comments which beautiful corner of the world you're watching from. Your support truly makes a difference. My name is Libby Norino. I'm 52 years old, and for 5 decades I've watched my younger sister Melissa play the role of the golden child while I remained invisible in the shadows of our family's dysfunction. But sometimes, the truth has a funny way of surfacing when you least expect it. I looked at Melissa across that table, her perfectly manicured fingers drumming against the wooden surface, her designer blazer immaculate as always. She'd just inherited Mom's house in Marin County, her jewelry collection, and the bulk of her savings. All I got was Mom's old sewing machine and a box of yellowed photographs. "Lucky you," I said quietly, my voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. Melissa's eyebrows shot up. She'd expected tears, arguments, maybe even begging. But after 52 years of being the family's afterthought, I'd learned something she never had: patience. You see, 3 weeks earlier, while cleaning out Mom's attic after her funeral, I'd found something Melissa didn't know existed, something that would change everything we thought we knew about our family's golden child. As I sat there watching her gloat, I realized this moment wasn't the end of our story. It was just the beginning of the most satisfying chapter I'd ever write. The discovery happened on a rainy Thursday morning in October. I'd been sorting through decades of accumulated memories in Mom's cramped attic, sneezing from dust and fighting back tears every time I found another reminder of how differently she'd treated us. There were dozens of photo albums documenting Melissa's achievements, dance recitals, graduation ceremonies, award ceremonies, while my accomplishments seemed to exist only in a single shoebox pushed behind Christmas decorations. That's when I found the manila envelope wedged between 2 loose floorboards. The envelope was thick, yellowed with age, and marked in Mom's distinctive handwriting, "For V, when the time is right." My hands trembled as I opened it, expecting maybe some sentimental letter or family heirloom she'd forgotten to mention. Instead, I found something that made my blood run cold. Bank statements, dozens of them, spanning 15 years, all showing regular transfers from Mom's account to an account belonging to Melissa Davidson, her married name, not gifts for birthdays or holidays, monthly payments, substantial ones, $2,000 every month for 15 years. That's $360,000 of Mom's money, flowing directly to my sister while I struggled to pay for Dad's medical bills during his final years. But the bank statements weren't the worst part. Beneath them lay a collection of credit applications, all bearing Mom's signature. Except the handwriting didn't quite match the signature on her will, which I'd just seen the week before. I'd helped Mom with enough paperwork over the years to know her actual signature, the way her arthritis made her letters slightly shaky but deliberate. These signatures were too smooth, too confident, too young. I photographed every document with my phone, my mind racing through implications I wasn't ready to face. The final document in the envelope was a handwritten note from Mom, dated just 6 months before her death. "Libby, I found out what she's been doing. I'm scared to confront her while I'm this sick, but you're stronger than I ever was. She took advantage of my failing memory and my love for her. Don't let her get away with it. Mom." My phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. "Hope you're finding some nice memories up there. Don't work too hard." I stared at that message for a long time, thinking about all the years I'd wondered why Mom seemed to have endless money for Melissa's needs, but always seemed tight when I asked for help. The pieces started falling into place once I knew what to look for. The next morning, I drove to Golden Valley Credit Union, where Mom had banked for 30 years. I'd been listed as a beneficiary on her accounts, which gave me access to request transaction histories. Margaret Santos, the branch manager who'd known our family for decades, greeted me with the kind of sympathy reserved for fresh grief. "I'm so sorry for your loss, Libby. Your mother was such a sweet woman. How can I help you today? I explained that I needed comprehensive records for estate purposes, keeping my voice carefully neutral. What Margaret showed me confirmed my worst fears. The $2,000 monthly transfers had started in 2008, right around the time Mom began showing early signs of memory issues. But more disturbing were the credit applications. 17 different cards and loans, all approved based on Mom's excellent credit rating and home equity. I have to ask, Margaret said, lowering her voice, did your mother seem confused about her finances in recent years? Some of these applications were submitted online, but others came through Melissa. She said she was helping her mother manage paperwork because of her arthritis. My stomach dropped. How many total applications? Margaret clicked through screens, her expression growing more concerned. 23 approved lines of credit over 7 years. Total available credit of about $340,000. Most were maxed out within months of approval. I drove home in a daze, understanding finally why Mom's house had a reverse mortgage I'd never heard about, why she'd seemed anxious about money despite Dad's good pension and her careful savings. Melissa had systematically drained our parents' financial security while I'd been working 60-hour weeks as a nurse, completely oblivious. That evening, I called my friend Janet, who worked as a paralegal for an elder law firm. Libby, if what you're describing is accurate, this isn't just family drama. This is elder financial abuse. It's a felony. But she's family, I said, the words feeling strange even as I spoke them. That makes it worse, not better. Family members commit about 90% of elder abuse cases. The fact that she used power of attorney documents and forged signatures, that's serious fraud. I stared at the manila envelope on my kitchen table, Mom's final gift to me. Janet's voice softened. What do you want to do about it? For the first time in days, I smiled. Knowledge, I learned, is a peculiar form of power. For 3 days after my conversation with Janet, I went about my normal routine, grocery shopping, working my shifts at the hospital, returning Melissa's cheerful texts about funeral arrangements. But underneath the normalcy, I was building a case. I contacted Dr. Patricia Elm, Mom's neurologist, who confirmed that Mom had been diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment in 2007. I specifically advised the family about protecting her from financial predators, Dr. Elm told me during our phone conversation. I even gave her pamphlets about elder fraud. She seemed very concerned about staying safe. The irony was breathtaking. Mom had worried about strangers taking advantage of her condition, while her own daughter was systematically looting her accounts. Next, I visited Melissa's neighborhood in upscale Mill Valley. Her house, a sprawling contemporary worth at least $800,000, sat on a quiet cul-de-sac where every lawn was perfectly manicured. Her husband David worked as a mid-level manager at a tech company. His salary, combined with Melissa's part-time bookkeeping business, couldn't possibly support their lifestyle. But $2,000 a month in free money, plus access to hundreds of thousands in credit? That explained the BMW in the driveway, the European vacations she'd posted on Facebook, the private schools for their kids. I sat in my modest Honda across the street, watching Melissa load expensive groceries into her luxury vehicle, and felt something shift inside me. This wasn't about inheritance anymore. This was about justice. That weekend, I drove to Sacramento to visit our cousin Linda, who'd worked for the state's Adult Protective Services Department for 20 years before retiring. Elder financial abuse cases are tough to prosecute, Linda explained over coffee in her sunlit kitchen. But when you have documentary evidence like this, especially with medical records confirming cognitive decline, prosecutors take it seriously. She examined the bank statements I'd photographed, her expression growing grimmer with each page. Libby, this pattern is textbook exploitation. The timing, the amounts, the way she escalated when your mother's condition worsened. It's like a case study in financial predation. What would happen if I reported it? Depends on the prosecutor and the evidence. Could be anything from restitution to actual prison time. Financial elder abuse resulting in losses over $65,000 is a felony. This is way over that threshold. I thought about Melissa's children, innocent kids who'd grown up benefiting from stolen money without knowing it. I thought about Mom, dying with the stress of hidden debt and depleted savings. Most of all, I thought about that smug smile across the dining room table. Mom always loved me more. "How do I start?" I asked Linda. The next Tuesday brought the reading of Mom's will and Melissa's declaration of victory. Sitting in Attorney Robert Huang's office, listening to the formal distribution of our mother's modest remaining assets, I watched my sister's performance with new eyes. She dabbed at carefully applied tears when Mr. Huang mentioned Mom's recent financial difficulties that had necessitated selling some investments. "Mom was so worried about money toward the end," Melissa said, her voice breaking convincingly. "I tried to help her manage things, but she was so proud. She didn't want to burden us with her problems." The attorney nodded sympathetically. "Elder financial management can be challenging. It's good she had family support." If only he knew. After the meeting, Melissa suggested lunch at her favorite bistro, an expensive place in downtown San Rafael where entrees started at $30. More money she could afford thanks to Mom's stolen funds. "I know the inheritance seems uneven," she said, cutting into her salmon, "but Mom knew I had more expenses with the kids and everything. She wanted to take care of me." "Lucky you," I repeated, the same words I'd used a week earlier. Melissa paused mid-bite. "You're being weird, Libby. Is this about the inheritance? Because honestly, you've always been better with money than me. Mom knew that." I sipped my water, studying her face. She genuinely seemed to believe her own narrative, that Mom's favoritism had been natural and justified, rather than manufactured through manipulation and theft. "Tell me about those last few years," I said carefully. "When you were helping Mom with her paperwork." "Oh, that," Melissa waved dismissively. "Her arthritis was getting so bad and she was forgetting things. I just helped her stay organized, made sure bills got paid, handled some of the financial stuff. She was grateful for the help." "That must have been time-consuming." "Well, yes, but family takes care of family. You were always so busy with work, Libby. Someone had to step up." The casual rewriting of history was stunning. In Melissa's version, she'd been the devoted daughter while I'd been absent and selfish. Never mind that I'd been working overtime to pay for Dad's medical care that insurance didn't cover. "Did Mom ever seem confused about her finances?" I asked. Melissa's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "What do you mean?" "Just wondering if she understood all the paperwork you were helping with." "Of course she did. Mom was sharp right up until the end." A defensive edge crept into her voice. "Why are you asking these questions?" I smiled and changed the subject to her kids' soccer season. But I'd seen what I needed to see, the flicker of panic when I'd mentioned Mom's confusion about finances. She knew exactly what she'd done. The call to Adult Protective Services happened on a Wednesday morning in November. I sat in my car outside the grocery store, hands shaking as I dialed the number Linda had given me. Detective Maria Rodriguez listened patiently as I explained the situation, asking pointed questions about documentation and timelines. "We'll need to examine the original documents," she said. "Can you bring them to our office tomorrow?" "What happens next?" "If the evidence supports your allegations, we'll open a formal investigation. We'll interview witnesses, examine financial records, possibly consult with handwriting experts. This isn't something we take lightly, Ms. Norino." "I understand." "One more thing. If charges are filed, this becomes public record. Your family situation will become a legal matter. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about Mom's note. "You're stronger than I ever was." "Yes," I said. "I'm prepared." The investigation moved quickly once it began. Detective Rodriguez and prosecutor Amy Kellerman built their case methodically, following the paper trail Melissa had left through years of forged documents and fraudulent applications. They interviewed Dr. Elm, who provided detailed records of Mom's cognitive decline. They spoke with bank employees who remembered Melissa's increasingly frequent visits on Mom's behalf. They consulted handwriting experts who confirmed what I'd suspected about the signatures. Most damning were the credit card statements, which showed a pattern of luxury purchases coinciding with Mom's worst periods of confusion and memory loss. 3 weeks after I'd made the initial report, Detective Rodriguez called with an update. "We have enough evidence to file charges," she said. "Multiple counts of elder financial abuse, forgery, and identity theft. The prosecutor's office wants to proceed." What does that mean for Melissa? If convicted on all counts, she's looking at potential prison time and mandatory restitution of the full amount stolen. Given the dollar amount involved, this is serious felony territory. I hung up and sat in my kitchen, staring at the manila envelope that had started everything. Part of me felt sick about what was coming. Despite everything, Melissa was still my sister. But a larger part of me felt something I hadn't experienced in 52 years: vindication. The arrest warrant was served on a Thursday morning while Melissa was dropping her kids at school. The trial lasted 3 days, though by the second day, Melissa's attorney was already discussing plea bargains. Watching my sister in the defendant's chair, finally forced to account for her actions, I felt no triumph, only a deep, quiet satisfaction that the truth was finally being heard. The prosecutor laid out the evidence systematically: the forged signatures, the fraudulent credit applications, the systematic draining of our parents' life savings during Mom's most vulnerable years. Melissa's defense tried to paint her as an overwhelmed daughter who'd made poor decisions while trying to help, but the evidence was too clear, too methodical. This hadn't been confusion or good intentions gone wrong. This had been calculated theft spanning 7 years. In the end, she accepted a plea deal: 2 years in county jail, 5 years probation, and full restitution of $387,000. The house in Mill Valley would have to be sold. The BMW, the jewelry, the comfortable life built on stolen money, all of it would go toward paying back what she'd taken. Her children, thank God, went to live with their father's parents while David tried to rebuild their finances. I hope someday they'll understand that their mother's crimes were her choice, not their legacy. 6 months later, I received a check for my portion of the restitution, money that rightfully should have been part of Mom's estate. I donated half to an elder abuse prevention nonprofit and used the rest to pay off my mortgage. Melissa and I haven't spoken since the sentencing. Maybe someday we will, when she's ready to acknowledge what she did and why it was wrong. Maybe not. But I sleep well at night knowing that I honored the strength Mom saw in me, that I protected other potential victims from my sister's predatory behavior, and that sometimes, just sometimes, the universe delivers exactly the justice it should. The golden child isn't always made of gold. Sometimes she's just better at hiding the tarnish. Thanks for staying with me through this journey. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, it's never too late to stand up for what's right. Take care, friends. Libby, Narino.